Today on the workbench I have another Western Maryland 210O, and this one is mine also. I just did the 280 in the Western Maryland Fireball scheme, and I picked this one up, and we're going to be basically doing the same thing to this one as we did the last one. We're going to be using a TCS WOWSteam decoder. That's part number 1525. We're going to be using a TCS KA2 Keep Alive, part number 1456 there. We're going to put a Soundtraxx 28mm speaker in that, and I could have taken that out. Put that 28mm speaker in there, and you can read that part number, if I can get the glare off of it, 810153. So we'll be using that, and I think this tender is going to be about the same way the other one was, and we'll put another Decoder Buddy in, and this is going to be one of the Decoder Buddy Tinys. So we'll get right into this. Like most of these, I haven't decided if I'm gonna. I'll probably upgrade this to an LED. The way this sits right now, just running on DC, the lights work. They're not the greatest of lights, but they do work, forward and reverse. So I may hop it up and put a LED in there, but most of our work will be back here in the tender, and we'll get this taken apart. This one does have the rear light on it, as you can see. So, and I have done one of these before. One of the fellows at the club, he has one of these. I put a decoder in it, but we'll go ahead and we'll start some disassembly here. There's one screw here underneath this front truck. Then you've got these two little clips back here to remove this shell off of this. So we'll get this pulled off. And sometimes these little clips back here, they like to really hang on. Hate to be real forceful with this, but sometimes now, come on. Looks like they're kind of twisted. Oh, sure. This one's going to give me trouble. Don't want to set that down on anything. Wondering if my ladder's in the way there. Well, we'll take a little bit here, put that back in. Just going to kind of open those little slots up a little bit. Give that a little more room. Let's see. Let's see what I'm catching on there. That back together. Take just a little bit off of the front edge of that little clip anyway. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I've taken a little bit off of the front edge there, and then I've enlarged the hole. There's that. There we go. That'll work. Alright, we're good to go. Now the big difference with this one in the tender, the last one I did you could remove the coal load. This one you can't remove the coal load, but we can still use the same size speaker. Put that right in there, and we'll do like we did in the last one. We'll drill a series of holes in that. So we'll set that off to the side so nothing can get broken. And then we're going to look at our board here. And we'll turn my soldering iron on. Put my knife away. So let's start some disassembly here. We'll see how our Decoder Buddy Mini will play into this. That light pops right out. This has the incandescent bulbs. So let's open up our Decoder Buddy. And we'll be able to mount at least one screw there. I'm going to have to cut this nub off. This is small enough, almost fit sideways in there. But probably end up setting that in there just like that. So I am going to end up, I'll cut this post off, take and remove some wires. These are our track pickups. So there's our track pickups. Let me get that out of the way. So we'll have plenty of room. Let me cut that off. And I'll get that all flush or level across there. Okay, so there's where that'll sit. Now, kind of file that post down. I really like to secure these with 2 screws, but I don't think I am. I may be able to take a piece of styrene tubing or just a piece of flat stock. Let me put this other screw in. We'll hold this board down. That way we can see what we need to do. So we've got that in there. Get out my calipers. Or mics. Get a measurement on that. So we're about 171 thousandths. I'm measuring this space in here. Yeah, we're at 168. So now, yeah, I really want to have at least two screws in that. So I've got some styrene. This is, it's a quarter, about a 125. So what I'll end up doing, I don't think I have any smaller. Get that out of the way. Get out my cutter here. I want to cut a little piece. And I'll cut it the whole width of that back. Find my pencil. So there's my width. Did I say that how thick that was? About 130. So what I'll do, instead of having 2 or 3 pieces of shim and everything else, I'm going to cut that post down a little bit, and then I'll trim that one off just a touch more. So we'll use that as a guide. And I'll hit it with the file. I want to hit that one a little more because it's about right. Actually, that one back there, I can just get rid of it. Well, now I have, there it is. Thought I had lost my little screw here. Then we can set that right under there. We'll glue that to the weight. Let me loosen that just a little. I think I've got that a little crooked, but so we're going to mount our Decoder Buddy just like that. That'll at least give me that much contact. I like that better. So I'm going to put that down with some CA glue. I hope. And I'll hit that with some accelerator. Let me get this off of here real quick, get it out of the way so I don't get any accelerator on that. That just sets that glue up right now. That's what I use for my accelerator. That from Woodcraft. So we are stuck. I need to file that off a little flatter. There, now we are sitting flat there now. So now, taking let's see if I have any self-tapping screws. Maybe not. I do have some really thin double-sided tape that I can use to put on there. And that could be set in there. That's about 130 thousandths between the board and the weight there. But I like to keep that stuff up off of there. It could go down a little lower, but I just don't want to put it any lower. But if I needed to, I could. Let's see. So I've got this, this is a permanent double-sided tape. The stuff is sticky. Of course, now I'm going to take and trim that off. Got stuck to my finger. So there. There's one there solid. Now our decoder buddy won't move, which that's a good thing. Throw some of my trash away. And we'll move that knife. Put the cap back on the CA glue. All right, now we are ready to start wiring. Before I do anything, let's see, this is black, should be the fireman's side. So let's see. Yes, it is. The black is the fireman's side. So that is the left-hand side. So it'll go over here on this pickup. Now I'm putting these, I'll run the tender wires to these back 2 track pickup tabs, because the front pickup tabs are still on the board up here. So this one will go over here. And I want to get that around. So there's that. This will be my right hand side. I'll cut that off kind of short. Make for a neater looking installation. There's that. Let's see. Get some flux out here. Double-sided tape out of the way. Now we can start to tin our wires. So there's that. Now what I want to do is tin my pads. I need to get this wire twisted around here. That way it can lay in the bottom there kind of flat after we get done. Turn that around. So I can solder that in there just like that. So there's our track pickups for left and right. So that'll work out. Now, let's see, the Decoder Buddies come with resistors, and I've set mine aside here someplace. Right offhand, I can't find the one that was supplied in the package. I had them right beside of me, and now I've lost them. They come with a pack of 4. Still debating on that bulb. I really should upgrade that. Just because I have some small lights. If I can find what I did with them. Okay, found my resistors. Now, what I want to do, I am going to put an LED or LEDs in this, and so I have one that I've got made up already, and I'm going to try to explain this. So here's my one that I've got made up. This is a 3mm bulb. It is a it's a warm white. Okay, now I've got this already has the resistor soldered onto it, and this is a 480 ohm resistor. Now this is a 12 watt bulb, or 12 volt bulb, excuse me. This is a 12 volt bulb that's warm white, and I've got a 480 ohm resistor on it. Okay, now if I were using the same size bulb with a 3 volt light, I would up this resistor. So now those are the same, they're the same color. Now the rings indicate what they are. I don't know what the rings mean. You can look that up. The way I figure out what they are, I just put a meter on them and I read them. If you set your meter to resistance or to do continuity, you can read those. So like this set of resistors here, and I'll set my meter over here to where you can see it. At least read the display anyway. So I'm going to put those down on there. You can see that's 2.172, and it's kilo ohms. So that's a 2200 ohm resistor. All right. So now this one, if I can get my probes on there. See, you can see that one's, well, if I could hold it steady. It's going to read 472, give or take. So that's about a 480 ohm resistor. So that's how I tell what my resistors are. Well, that's how anybody can tell what value a resistor is. So we're going to use the 12 volt bulb. It's a 3mm. So now, saying that, it will just fit partially in there, but the way this works, it has a little nub right there on the light, and that's what feeds that bulb. or the light out through. So I'm going to take and drill that out just a touch so I can set this whole thing down in here. And I don't think I can do it by hand. I'm going to try and chuck this up in my drill, and we'll see how this turns out, for better or worse. So I'm going to pause you here and then I'll bring you back. Alright, I've got that drilled out just the tiniest bit so that I can take this bulb and resistor. I'm going to move my leads out. And we'll get this to, well, actually I'm going to have to take this resistor off and I'll rewire it. But anyway, that's the general principle, or general idea of what we're going to do here. But, yeah, if we could put it in upside down. But anyway, let's get us some wire. I'll pull this resistor off. Put some flux on these pads. Go ahead and tin those up. Get that out of the way. There's that. Sprayed that accelerant on there and I can really smell it when I put that heat to that. So let me get my little third hand here. We'll pull that resistor off and solder it right to the board. I can find my so there's our resistor. And now I'll need a piece of, get some wire. Okay, got a couple of small pieces of wire that we're going to solder on. I'll put a little flux on there, just because. So there's that one. And I want to cut. I'm going to cut that off about right there. And this is still the same bulb. I've just taken the resistor off of it, mounted it to the board. Now I'm going to take and tin that. Yeah, missed it. Ooh. Okay. Now I want to get out a couple little pieces of heat shrink. And, well, if I could hold on to some of this stuff today, I'd be doing all right. I put that on there. I want to shorten this piece of heat shrink up some. So there's that one. And then put a little piece on this one. That'll work. That way. Then we'll just get this set in here. Alright, so there's that. Now this is going to be kind of tight right here. I may have to make my hole just a touch bigger. Now what I'll do is, I've got it down in there. I may have to go a little farther. Hate to push on that with my fingers, but I'm afraid I'm going to break it and run it through my finger. I think I'm going to have to pull that back out. Maybe drill my hole a little deeper. Yeah, so I'll be back. Okay, I've got my 480 ohm resistor ready to go. So we've got that on the board. Pull that up there, and then I'll cut this off just a little. Get some flux on that. And then back to the soldering iron. Basically this is rinse, lather, repeat. Closer look at that. A few little things there to trim. And like I say, once I get all this that I know that it works, I do like to test it before I start putting some things in permanent. But that up. I've got my 12-volt bulb over here, which I don't need quite yet, but that'll go in the locomotive. So the way this sits right now, I'm ready for the speaker. Of course, I can put my Keep Alive in, but I think I'm going to test out this rear light. So let me I'll grab the decoder. And put it on. That'll sit right in there like that. That'll be what our finished product looks like, basically. Of course, I can put my Keep Alive in there, and I'll do that. Let's see. Yeah, alright, I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to test this out, see if my light works. That way we'll know that's good. Then we can work on the speaker, and I got to put the front light in. New front light in, now that I've changed that. So, anyway, I'll be back here in a minute. So there's that one. Now we'll go with our other side for the motor. We'll have to look that up and see what that yellow component is. But I do know that it is for motor noise. So there, now we've got our motor wires on. Tuck them down. Now we can read out of our 8-pin connector what these other two wires are. Of course, you can read them, all the wires out of your 8-pin connector. Go back to that, to our meter. Alright, what we're going to do, let me get something to hold. Alright, so I've still got two wires connected to the board, and there are these two terminals, these first two terminals. So what we're going to do is, we know they're the front headlight, so by NMRA standards, this pin over here is our pin 1, that is our motor positive. So the next one, let's see, that should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you can see they're numbered on there, 1 through 4, 1 through 8. Alright, so our front headlight should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, number 6. We need pins number 6 and number 7. So that should be this pin and this pin. Number 7 will be our blue function wire, or the common. So let's put that there. And that's that first pin. And then this back here should be our next one. That's our negative. So the way they have that is they have the black as the common. Let me get this again. I want to make sure. So pin 7. Yep. Pin 7 is our common. Pin 6 is our negative. And they've got it as red. So in this case we are the exact opposite of what we normally go. Of course it's completely different color, but so our red is our negative. Of course now I need to put a resistor on this, so our resistor this time will go on the black. But I'm going to hook this red up. Cut that off a little bit. That way I won't have to keep that in my head which way we need to go. So we'll tin this thing up. So there's that. Now I need to get a resistor. Actually, I need to get another light. So we can put in. So I'll put that together and then I'll be back. Alright, I've got that drilled out fairly deep in there now. Let's push this back down in. Get it lined up. There we go. Now we're down in there like we should be. Alright, now the thing about that is I've got very little room. Especially for that. So we'll trim that off about right there. And that'll give me plenty to solder. Put a little flux on that. Tin that. Let me I want to cut that resistor off, that lead off of that just a little bit. Okay. Now we'll try again here. And when I know this all works, I'll put some liquid black tape on that. That way I won't have that exposed lead out there. So we'll pull that under there. I can cut that off. And the shorter you can make these things, the less wire you're going to have to try and route and hide and maneuver around things. And so I know it looks like kind of a pain, but in the end it does help, and it looks a lot nicer too. Of course, I know you can't really see that, but all right, so we've got our LED in, we've got our board in, we've got the rear pickups in. So right now I could actually take and put the decoder on it and test that out. Pull that little protective piece off. So the only other thing I've got to do to the tender is put the speaker in. Of course, I've got these other wires here, but back here is complete, and I'll clean that all up when I get it done. So now, I believe the way they do these, this 2-pin plug is the track pickups. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those off. Set this out of the way. Now on that last one I did, they had the wires backward on them, so you can't just take for granted that red is your engineer's side and black is the fireman's side. So what we'll do, let's go through, we'll strip this off a little bit, and we'll use our meter again. So we've got enough wire stripped off there. We'll bring back the locomotive, and we're going to plug this in. Alright, so now we'll get our meter back out. We've got it set on continuity. And okay, now what we'll do is we're going to just touch. We're going to touch so they do have this one wired up correctly. If I could keep my hands steady. Where's my black one? And I can see the pickups down in there. So they do have this one correct. Okay, so our red and black is correct. We'll move our locomotive out of the way. I am going to shorten this up some more. I don't really need to, but I can cut 3/8 of an inch off of that. It'll give us plenty to work with. So in the same way with my red. That out of the way. then we can flux all of that up. Let me clean the tip off. We'll tin that. I'll pick some of the extra flux up that I've got down here. I like to use these tweezers on here because it acts kind of like a heat sink. Yep, I don't like that one at all. So there's that one. Get enough one here again to tin this side. So there, got it tinned and soldered all at one time. So we're good to go with our track pickups. So now we just have motor and light to figure out. And I think I have done these before, but that doesn't mean I remember what they are. But one of the first things you can do, they use these, I think they're not capacitors. No, I can't remember what this is now. But they use these to reduce motor noise. And you're supposed to actually take and cut this off. So I know this is the motor. So, saying that, we can follow our trace back, or traces. So these two should be our motor. So I should have a red and a black. And I do. Right there. That should be our motor hookup. And then the other two will be our light. Let me go through, snip that off. And those are going to be just perfect the way they are. The perfect length. Yep. Alright, now on the Decoder Buddy, those are M1 and M2. Let's shoot down there on that a little bit. M1 and M2. My light's glaring, but so what we'll do, and M1, turn this around the right way, is M1 is orange. Orange is positive. So I'm going to take and put some flux on both of those. We'll get what I think is the positive wire. And we'll know when we plug it up because the motor will run backward if we don't have it in the correct position. But that is just long enough. So I've got plenty of flux on it. Let me tin that board. And then tin that wire. Okay, I've tested that. The light works well, and well, that's really all I tested because I don't have anything else hooked up to it. But I did look it up. That is this yellow piece, that's a capacitor for that motor noise. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to bring that back and show you what that was. So we've got this ready to go. I can put the Keep Alive in. I am ready to mount the speaker, which I've got the 28mm speaker. And so we'll get that, and like I say, I'll end up doing it like I did the other one. I'm going to drill a series of holes in the top of that with a number, I believe it's a number 70 bit. Let me just make sure of that. 70 holes, a number 68 bit. So, and now I got to look that up again because I don't remember what size that is. That's 310 thousandths. Or 31 10,000ths. So 0.0310. And I don't know if I've still got that bit right here handy. I'll show you what I'm going to use. So that is a number 68 bit, and I know you don't want to watch me drill 70 holes in this coal load, so get this thing chucked up in here. And then, well, put my little drill index away. There's that. Get that out of the way. And basically we're just going to start with a series of holes. And this is all we will do. So I've drilled a hole in that. You can't even see that. So I'm going to turn this off, drill my holes, and then I'll be back. Okay, I have 70 holes drilled in the top of that. And I mean, if you look close, you can see them. But there's a series of 70 holes. So now I have to take and mount this speaker, and the way I'll end up doing that, let me kind of attach that to that little magnet there. Yep. So that's going to sit right down in there. You can't see any of the holes that I've got. Now I did have to notch that out in there just a little bit to get that speaker to sit down in there. So I'll hot glue that in. I should have had my hot glue iron on, but I need to solder two leads to that. So we'll pull that back out. And I am being really careful right there not to bust that speaker. So our speaker's still in good shape. I'm going to turn my solder or my hot glue gun on, and then I'll be back. Alright, I plugged my hot glue gun in. Now what I want to do, while that's heating up, I'm going to take and solder some leads to the speaker. So we'll get that taken care of. Then we can get our speaker mounted. Go ahead and I don't like to dilly-dally around on these speakers. I like to get them in and out of there. Get that. And then, of course, you can see I've just made a loop there. But I just cut those off. Cut it in half. There's that. And I will, before I put that in there, use some alcohol. Clean that off. So while I've got that out, get my tender back over here, pull that board off. Yep. I'm not going to get that back off there like I wanted without removing that. Yep, I'll do this another way. I've got my board back off. Now I need some more alcohol. Okay, so I've got that clean. While I've got it over here and the soldering iron's warming up, we're going to go ahead and put our Keep Alive in, which we'll use this U positive and that ground. And cut that out of the package. This is a TCS KA2. There's room for a little bigger one in there, but I'm going to end up putting that, well, I thought I was going to put it right there like that, but I won't. I'll just set it back here. Run my wires underneath. So, a little alcohol to clean that off. So put some double-sided tape on it. That way it'll hold. So let me get that. That'll sit just like that. Trim that off. I'll go ahead and pull the plastic off of the bottom. There's that. We'll run our, actually, yeah, run our wire underneath the board. There's 1, 2, and just to make sure, I want to look, our black and white stripe is the ground. So let's go ahead and snip that off. Snip that off. There's that one. And I'm just taking right now and stripping the ends off of those. Then I'll tin those up. We can clean those off in a second. We'll be able to mount our speaker here shortly. There's that. And I don't know why it is. It seems I hold my breath every time I solder something like that. But I might as well tin these speaker pads. While I'm at it. Now, our blue is our positive. Our black is our ground. And I'm not sure if I got that one good enough or not, so let me take a closer look here. Yep, I got it. Sometimes some of those things are kind of small, but I am going to trim a little piece of wire off there. So there's that. Now we should be ready to get that out of the way. I'm going to zoom back out. We should be ready to put get our speaker hot glued in. And I should have kept my drill bit out there. So there's that. Now, we can go ahead and get our hot glue gun out. I don't know how much of this you'll be able to see. That notch I cut in there, I cut it in with a Dremel, so you have to be extra careful. Of course, then you got this hot glue gun that you got to be careful with. So, everything you just got to be careful with. kind of hold off there for a second. Let part of that cool. Kind of look at it here real quick. Just to see. I believe I've got that sealed most of the way around right now. I still got to get up in here just a little bit. Not much. But I'm trying to keep that to where the glue, if it runs, it'll run away from the speaker. So I think we're still good to go. Just trying to keep it off of the cone. Stringy stuff. So I think that is it. So we'll let that cool. So that's the speaker installed. None came through the holes. Okay, we're back. I've pulled the smokestack off, and basically this thing will just pull out like that right there. Okay, so we've got that off, and now this is what we need. We're going to change out this front light. You can see it up in there. So there are 3 screws, and I'm not going to take them out all the way. I'm just going to loosen them a little bit so we can loosen a little more. That way I can try to get this thing separated. I'll have to pull that all the way off. Just make it easier on everybody. Forgot this piece. Well, I thought that came off. All right. There's that screw, and that screw. Stick our, ouch, chisel blade. And there I've cut myself a little bit. I've got it out far enough to where I can cut that off. Excuse me. Can't get my throat clear today. So I'll be able to, I'm going to reuse the wire there. So I'm going to cut that off up there. And what happened to my, okay, I've got my bulb down there. But what I'm going to have to do, I've got to drill that out. That hole is not big enough for the 3mm bulb that I want to put in there. So what I want to do is put a couple of these screws back in. So I can hold that frame together. I'll just put them all back in. I'm going to pull that wire out just a little bit so I won't hit it. Let me get this thing out of the way so I don't cut myself again. And I've got my drill set up for the hole that I need to cut or drill. And it is a about 160 thousandths. Let's see. So it's a number 20. It's just over a 5/32 bit. So I can drill that. I'll be able to drill a hole. See, I'll show you this. This is the way it's set up. It won't fit in there the way I want it to. So we're going to drill that, and this stuff is really soft, so I drill them in reverse to keep it from pulling in. I know that sounds crazy, but it works because that material is that soft. So that enlarged our hole. I don't know if you can tell that it enlarged it, but it did. Clean these metal shavings off of here. And now our light will sit right down in there. So now we'll push our wire back through. All right. Now we'll go ahead and turn my soldering iron on. Of course, we put the resistor in on the board, so we don't have to worry about resistors. I'll get a little more than that stripped off of there. And we'll get our flux out. We'll tin our wires. There's one. There's two. Now when I took the resistor off this bulb, I knew that was the short one was my positive side. Heat shrink tubing. So get that out. Before I go to all the trouble putting that thing in, I'm going to test this bulb. I have a pair of smart tweezers here that I can just touch this with. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but it does. Try it this way. Set the yeah, trust me, it works. I can see it. Of course, this is a 12-volt bulb. That's why this is having a hard time lighting that up. But anyway, it does work. So, back to the job at hand here. Okay. There's that one. Let me trim some of that. So that'll take care of our positive side. And I'll take and cut that leg off over here. flux. Okay. Now let's try to tin that up. There's that. And that's not going to help me right there. Oh, forgot to put my heat shrink on there. Let's see, let me try it. Different pair. That'll work. All right. Get that heat shrink on there. And we'll be able to test this. Alright, we're to the point where all we have left is we have to put in the new LED bulb, and I just had it laying here. There, I'll put it back there. Alright, so to get this locomotive apart, let's see, we have several screws. One silver one right in here. Yeah, that's the wrong screwdriver. There we go. So we'll remove this screw. And then we'll set this down in this cradle. Move that light up out of my way. There's one, should be underneath this front pilot truck. And I want to note how this stuff comes apart. Find my tweezers here. So we've got our screw and our pilot. And then we've got our little spring. So that'll sit right down in there like that. And then that sits on top of it. So yep. All right. let's get that out of the way and that out of the way. So we've got this little screw here, and before we put this all back together, I'm going to switch out this coupler. And I'll put a KD a 148 there, a spring coupler in there. So I don't have that all the way out. So there's that. I'll separate my screws and put them. So I've got my pilot up here with the screw, and then the front screw, and the back screw. Try to separate it out and keep it to where I can put them all back together. Now, the way this thing I don't think I need to take out the this drawbar, but I'm going to. I can't remember if that goes up into the frame or not. Won't hurt to take it out. I know these two screws right here, they just hold this bottom plate on for the pickups. Now, okay, so that will come apart. Let me get this cradle out of the way. Give myself a little more room. Bring back in my other little pad here. So there are all kind of pipes. There's all kind of piping in this. So we have to be really careful with what we're doing. When I'm looking here real carefully, put that back on there. These sideboards come off, pretty sure. Yep. So we'll pull that off. And there's piping connected to that. Trying to get that little piece right there. There we go. So that's off. Now I've got to get this other side. It's really not going to help me because I need to get into the smoke box to get my light put in. Let me pop this side off. There we go. And we should be able to pull these two pipes. And we should be able to. Why can't we? It's because they're glued really well, that's why. There's one. There we go. All right. Well, that goes all the way through. Okay, that's what I'm wanting to get off. The rest of it, we don't have to worry about. So now, what I need to do we need to get into here. To get to the light, and this should see. I don't think there are any screws in that. That's not going to do that. Well, and a loss here. Let's see. sometimes, let me pull the small screw out of the stack here. I think it only holds the stack one though. Yep, we'll have to look for the drawing on it. So I'll be back. So we're in good shape for the shape we're in if I'd quit touching things. Let me sit there, I'm going to put that down. Now, that way I can leave it alone. We'll get our tender back over here. And we'll strip our wires off on the ends. That way we can get these all soldered in here. And these I'm leaving a little bit long, just so I'll be able to pull the shell off. So there's that one. There's that one. On that speaker, this side, I guess the right hand side, top side, is the positive. So the way this is laid out, and I don't, it really doesn't matter which one is which. But this one is the negative side. And then this one is our positive side. Now put that away. Need that. Get out my Q-tip again, a little bit of alcohol. Clean again. All right, so everything in the tender is hooked up. Now that I stuck my finger in that hot glue up there, yeah, that's all set up nicely. Now I want to unplug my glue gun. So we're ready to put the board back in. Push it all the way down. You can tell those are extra long pins. Let me zoom in on that again. pins are extra long, but I've pushed it all the way to the bottom. But right now, everything is in. I know my rear light works. I'm going to put this on. And then we'll focus on the locomotive itself. Push that wire up in and get it tucked in. Get this one tucked in. And it wrapped right around the post the way I didn't want it to go. So there we go. Slick. All right, let me put this one screw back in. It's about time to kind of done this basically in one shot here. So we put our screw back in. All the ladders are intact. Body's down. Got the steps in the rear. So now I'm going to take a little break. Zoom back out. So there we are. There's our LED. Get our wires down. Alright, now I want to test this crazy thing before so we can plug that in. I don't have. Oh wait a minute. I do have. Okay. Okay. Get this all switched around. Just going to hook up a set of leads to the tender. And that's kind of precarious there, so I heard the dynamo kick on. So my rear light's on. And there's the, I'll move this up real easy. There's our front light. So, it does work. And I've taken the power off of that. Let's see how long that lasts. Well, the capacitor Keep Alive didn't have enough time to fully charge, so even when just plugging it up like that, I had about 5 seconds of time. So unplug the tender. And then we can go through and put everything back together. But I want to put a piece of wire, or not wire, Kapton tape across these wires up here. That way I won't have to worry about them when I go to put this back together. So let me make sure my screws are tight. And then we'll bring our cab back over. That goes in there. That all sits on there nice. Now, the tedious job, putting this back together. Slow and steady. Okay, that's back on. But I have to get all my piping arranged, but I want to put the screws back in before I go any farther. So there's our front one. Get our rear one out. Turn my soldering iron off. So there's that. Well, I'm thinking, well, we'll do that last. Pull those back. So that's slid back where it needs to go. And we'll dab a little CA on those. And we've got these two back here. Oh, come on. Get my pliers out. For some reason, yeah, we'll come back to that. I need to put my drawbar back on so the body won't come back off. So we've got that side. Just so I won't lose this tiny, tiny screw. There's that. Making sure that I've got all the piping out from underneath. Okay. forgot that pipe went underneath. There we go. And then it sits in that hole. Went. Okay. There's that one. There's that one. All right. All of our pipes are out of the way. Let me get up my other cradle here so I can change out the front coupler. Oh, I've got a couple little other details that go on the cab. There's my coupler that I want. Yep. And I'll change the rear one out too. I've got a number 5 there. So before we do anything else, let's change that. I knew I should have put that on the screwdriver first. At least I've got it started. Swing that around. All right. There's that. locomotive itself is done. Other than these two small details that go on the back. And now out my tweezers. That's not where that goes. I'll have to get out the instruction sheet again. Well, that is where that goes, but I'll get out the instructions. Let me change out the coupler on the tender. I was going to use a number, number 5. Yeah, I was going to use a number 5 back there, but I forgot these things. You can't use a 5 because of the spring that it involves. So we'll get another number 148 out. Not sure. Yeah. Okay. All right, there's our couplers. So, just got the front pilot to put on. Almost forgot it. I'm having a hard time this morning. See if we can push that down on there. There we go. All right. Get that out of the cradle. Move this stuff around. So we're all done except these two little detail parts, and I'll get them back on. But now it's time to try this thing out. So I'll switch you around, and I'll probably have the other parts on when I come back. So, all right. All right, we've got our Western Maryland 1110 up here on the test track. We've got everything installed, and we're going to fire this thing up and see what happens. So there's our sound on. There's our horn, and I haven't touched any of the factory settings, just like normal. So I've got there's our headlight on. Hear the dynamo kick in. The bell. And we'll go ahead and start this thing up. Alright, there we go. We've got our install. Apply the brake there. And it looks like we've had success with this. New LED lights front and rear. And let's see. I'll shift it around there. And I'll move it around to where you can see the rear light. So there you can see our rear light come on, or off, and then back on. So So we're going to say this is a completed project. And I will adjust the CVs. I'll hit the brake there. And we'll call it done. Thanks for watching.